She thought she could sell my life while I was still breathing. She didn't know.
I was about to tear her entire world apart. My name is Daniel Harper. I'm 68 years old.
And I spent 7 weeks pretending to be weak, just to destroy the people who tried to bury me alive. The man standing next to Lean on that porch wasn't family. He wasn't a neighbor either. He was holding a clipboard, wearing a company polo, and behind him, down the street, that white moving truck was still idling like a ticking clock. I didn't even need to ask. I already knew. She wasn't just planning to take my money anymore. She was about to erase me. "Daniel, you shouldn't be here," Lean said. Her voice tight, controlled, but her eyes were different now. There was panic hiding behind that polished tone. Good. That meant she knew something had shifted. "I brought something for Lawson," I said calmly, lifting the envelope just slightly. "Not for her. Never for her." Her jaw tightened. "You were told Milo isn't feeling well." "I saw him in the window," I cut in, my voice still even. "He looks perfectly fine." For a split second, silence. That kind of silence that cracks something invisible. Then Lawson appeared behind her. Slow. Uneasy. Like a man walking into a storm he already knew was coming. "Dad," he said quietly. And there it was again. That broken tone. That hesitation. That piece of him still buried under all her control. I stepped forward. Lean moved to block me. Instinct. Control. Ownership. But I didn't stop. Not this time. "Move," I said, not loud but solid. She hesitated. Just for a second. And in that second, Lawson spoke. "Let him in." Her head snapped toward him. Sharp. Warning. Dangerous. But he didn't look at her. He was looking at me. And I saw it. For the first time in weeks. Fear wasn't the only thing in his eyes anymore. There was doubt. I walked past her. Right into the house she had turned into a prison. The air felt the same. Cold. Controlled. Manufactured. But something underneath it had changed. Pressure. Like a structure right before collapse. I placed the envelope on the kitchen counter. That same counter where she had planned my institutionalization. Where she had laid out brochures like I was already gone. "Open it," I said, looking directly at Lawson. Not her. Him. This was always about him. He hesitated. His fingers hovered over the envelope like it might burn him. "Daniel, I think this conversation should happen." Lean started. "No," I said, cutting her off without even looking at her. "It happens right now." My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Lawson finally picked it up. His hands were shaking. Actually shaking. He slid a finger under the flap, tore it open, and everything changed. The first thing he pulled out was the audit report. Page after page. Numbers. Transfers. Dates. Proof. His eyes moved quickly at first, then slower, then stopped completely. "What is this?" he whispered. "That," I said quietly, "is $32,000 your wife stole." Silence. Thick. Heavy. Crushing. Lean laughed. A sharp, fake, defensive sound. "This is ridiculous." "Keep reading," I said. Lawson's hands trembled as he flipped to the next section. The forged signatures. His name. Over and over again. Used. Copied. Weaponized. His breathing changed. Shorter. Uneven. "Lean," he said slowly, not looking up. "Why is my signature on transactions I never approved?" She stepped forward fast. Too fast. "That's accounting structuring, Lawson. You don't understand." "I understand fraud," I said. Her eyes snapped to me. Sharp. Cold. But there was something new now. Cracks. Real cracks. Lawson flipped another page. The LLC. The shell company. The withdrawals. The hotel stays. Kalamazoo. The tablet receipt. The dinners. The timeline. Everything. "No," he whispered. His voice broke. Actually broke. This isn't. He couldn't even finish. That's when I reached into my jacket and pulled out the final piece. The photo. The sticky note. Vance room 402, intake December 15th. I placed it gently on the counter, right in front of him. That's where I was supposed to be next month, I said quietly. Locked away, while she sold everything I built. Lawson looked at it, then at her, then back at it, and something inside him snapped. You told me that was for planning, he said, his voice rising now. You said it was just an option. It is an option, she snapped back. You're being manipulated right now. Am I? He shouted. That was the first time his voice filled the room. The first time he pushed back. The first time she didn't have control. Because it looks like you already scheduled it, he said, holding up the photo. It looks like you already decided he was done. Her composure cracked. Fully. Finally. You don't understand what I've been managing, she fired back. Your father is a liability, Lawson. His assets, his condition. My condition. I repeated calmly. She froze. Wrong move. Go ahead, I said. Say it clearly. She didn't. Because now she couldn't. Because the room had shifted. Because Lawson was looking at her differently now. Not as a partner. Not as a leader. But as a stranger. A dangerous one. I was protecting our future, she said, but the confidence was gone now. Everything I did was for us. No, Lawson said slowly, shaking his head. It was for you. That hit. Hard. She stepped back like it physically struck her. You used me, he continued. You used my name, my accounts, my father. Her silence said everything. I didn't need to speak anymore. This wasn't my moment. This was his. I trusted you, he said, his voice breaking again. I defended you. I pushed him away because I thought you were right. He looked at me then, and I saw it. Guilt. Regret. Pain. Real pain. I'm sorry, Dad. That was it. That was the moment. The moment everything she built collapsed. Because she lost control of him. And without him, she had nothing left to hide behind. Outside, the moving truck engine shut off. Like the end of something. Inside, the silence settled. Not empty, but final. I picked up my coat slowly. Calm. Steady. Because I had already won. I'm not pressing charges, I said quietly. Both of them looked at me. Surprised. Confused. I'm giving you a choice, I continued, looking at Lean now. You walk away, quietly. No more contact. No more access to anything that belongs to me or my grandson. I paused. Let it sink in. Or I let the law finish what I just started. Her face went pale. Actually pale. For the first time, she looked small. Cornered. Powerless. Lawson didn't say a word. He didn't need to. He had already chosen. And she knew it. 7 weeks. 7 weeks of silence. Of patience. Of pretending. And it all led to this moment. I walked to the door. Then stopped. Turned slightly. Milo deserves better than this, I said. Then I left. And this time, no one stopped me. I didn't hear footsteps behind me when I stepped off that porch. No voice calling my name. No excuses. No last attempt to twist the truth. Just silence. The kind that tells you something is finally over. The cold air hit my face as I walked toward my car, but I barely felt it. My hands weren't shaking anymore. My chest wasn't tight like it had been for weeks. For the first time in a long time, I could breathe. I opened the driver's door, but before I got in, I paused and looked back at the house. My house. The one I built 32 years ago. Every brick. Every beam. Every scratch in that wooden railing. I remembered all of it. Lawson learning to ride his bike in that driveway. His mother laughing in the kitchen window. Summers that felt endless. And then her, Leanne, turning it into something unrecognizable. A place where I had to ask permission to exist. A place where my own grandson became something I had to schedule and pay to see. I let out a slow breath and got in the car. But I didn't start it. Not yet. Because I knew this wasn't over. Not really. Inside that house, something had broken. But broken things don't always stay down quietly. And Leanne didn't strike me as someone who accepted defeat. Not the kind of person who walks away clean. No, she was the kind who burns everything on the way out. I started the engine. And just as I was about to pull away, the front door slammed open. Hard. I looked up. Lawson. He was coming down the steps fast, almost stumbling, his face pale, his breathing uneven. "Dad," he called out. I killed the engine and stepped out. He reached me in seconds, like he was afraid I'd disappear if he slowed down. "Dad, wait." Up close, he looked worse than I'd ever seen him. Not physically. Something deeper. Like the ground under his life had just collapsed. "You okay?" I asked quietly. Stupid question. Of course he wasn't. He let out a shaky breath, running a hand through his hair. "I didn't know," he said immediately. "I swear to you, I didn't know it was this bad." I studied his face. His eyes weren't avoiding mine anymore. That was new. "She controlled everything," he continued, voice cracking. "The accounts, the paperwork, she said it was easier if she handled it, I thought." He stopped, shaking his head. "I thought I was protecting us. I thought I was being responsible." "You were being blind," I said. Not harsh, just honest. He flinched anyway. "I know," he whispered. "I know." Silence settled between us again. But this time, it wasn't heavy like before. It was raw, real. "What happens now?" he asked finally. I leaned against the car door. "That depends on you," I said. He swallowed hard. "She's inside packing," he said. "Or pretending to. I don't even know what she's thinking right now." "I do," I said. He looked at me. "She's thinking about damage control," I continued. "What she can still take, what she can still spin, who she can still manipulate." His jaw tightened. "I won't let her," he said quickly. "I won't let her touch anything else. I'll call a lawyer tomorrow, freeze the accounts, whatever it takes." I nodded slowly. That was a start, but not enough. "And Milo?" I asked. That hit him differently. His expression shifted immediately. Softer. Worried. "He's upstairs," Lawson said. He heard the yelling, he's confused. I took a breath. "I want to see him," I said. He didn't hesitate this time. "Come on." We walked back toward the house together. Side by side. Not perfectly repaired. Not magically fixed. But something had changed. Inside, the air felt different. Not controlled anymore. Unstable. Like something had been ripped out, and the space didn't know how to settle yet. Leanne wasn't in the living room. But I could hear movement upstairs. Drawers opening. Closing. Fast. Aggressive. "She's trying to take things," Lawson muttered. "Let her," I said. He frowned. "What?" "Let her show exactly who she is," I replied calmly. "It'll make everything easier later." He hesitated, then nodded. We moved toward the stairs. Each step felt heavier than the last. Not because I was afraid, but because I knew what was waiting at the top. Milo. The one person in this entire mess who didn't deserve any of it. Lawson knocked softly on the bedroom door. "Hey buddy, it's me." A pause. Then a small voice. "Dad." Lawson opened the door slowly. Milo was sitting on the bed, clutching a stuffed dinosaur, his eyes wide and uncertain. And when he saw me, he lit up. Grandpa. That word. It hit harder than anything else that day. I stepped forward, my chest tightening. "Hey kiddo," I said softly. He jumped off the bed and ran straight into me. No hesitation. No confusion. Just pure trust. I held him close, closing my eyes for a second. This is what she tried to take. "You came back," he said, pulling away just enough to look at me. "Of course I did," I smiled gently. I told you I would. Behind me, Lawson turned his face away. I think he needed a second. Mama said you were busy, Milo added innocently. I felt Lawson stiffen. I kept my tone light. Well, I had some things to fix, I said. But I'm here now. Milo nodded like that was enough. Because to him, it was. From the hallway, a loud crash echoed. Something hitting the floor. Hard. Lawson turned immediately. I'll handle it, he said, his voice colder now. I nodded. As he stepped out, I stayed with Milo, sitting down beside him. You okay? I asked gently. He shrugged. There was a lot of yelling. Yeah, there was. I rested a hand on his shoulder. Sometimes adults mess things up, I said. But that doesn't mean everything breaks, okay? He looked at me, trying to understand, then nodded slowly. Okay. Footsteps returned. Lawson stood in the doorway. His face was set now. Different. Resolved. She's leaving, he said. I met his eyes. Good. He hesitated, then added quietly. She tried to take the safe box. I almost smiled. Of course she did. But she didn't get it, he said quickly. I stopped her. I nodded once. Then it's over. But deep down, I knew better. Because people like Leanne don't just disappear. They wait. They plan. They come back in different ways. And as I sat there with my grandson in my arms, I realized something important. This wasn't just about taking my life back anymore. This was about protecting his. And if she thought today was the end of this story, she was wrong. Because I was done being quiet. And next time, I wouldn't just expose her. I would finish it. That night should have felt like the end of something. Instead, it felt like the beginning of a war. Milo fell asleep with his head on my arm, his small fingers still gripping my shirt like he was afraid I'd disappear again. I didn't move for a long time. Not because I couldn't, but because I didn't want to. There's something about holding onto the one person who still trusts you without conditions. It reminds you what you're fighting for. Lawson stood by the doorway for a while, just watching us. He looked exhausted. Not the kind of tired sleep fixes. The kind that comes from realizing your entire life was built on something rotten. You can stay, he said quietly. I glanced up at him. What? Here, he added. For tonight or longer, I mean it. I studied him for a moment. 3 weeks ago, he wouldn't even return my calls. Now he was offering me my own house like it was his to give. Funny how things shift. I'm not going anywhere, I said calmly. But not because you're offering. He nodded slowly. I know. That silence came back again. But this one, it wasn't uncomfortable. It was honest. What are you going to do about her? I asked. His jaw tightened instantly. I told her to leave, he said. She packed a bag and said she'd come back for the rest later. She will, I replied. His eyes flickered. Yeah, I figured. I carefully shifted Milo onto the bed, pulling the blanket over him. He stirred slightly but didn't wake. I stood up slowly, my back reminding me I wasn't 30 anymore. Did she say anything before leaving? I asked. Lawson let out a quiet, humorless laugh. Yeah, he said. She said this isn't over. Of course she did. I walked past him into the hallway. Then we make sure it is. We went downstairs together. The house felt stripped. Not physically. Something else. Like the illusion had been ripped off the walls. Lawson leaned against the kitchen counter, staring at the papers I'd left behind. $32,000, he muttered. How did I not see this? She didn't want you to, I said simply. He nodded, swallowing hard. I feel like an idiot. You were manipulated, I corrected. There's a difference. He didn't look convinced. She isolated you, I continued. Controlled information, created dependency. That's not stupidity, Lawson. That's strategy. He looked up at me. You've been planning this for weeks, haven't you? I held his gaze. Yes. He exhaled slowly. Why didn't you just tell me? I almost laughed. I tried, I said. You weren't listening. That hit. Hard. He looked away. Yeah, I guess I wasn't. Silence again. Then. What's next? He asked. This time his voice was different. Not defensive. Not confused. Focused. Good. I walked over to the counter and picked up one of the reports. Tomorrow morning you call a lawyer, I said. Not one she knows. Not one she's ever spoken to. He nodded immediately. Okay. We freeze every account she had access to, I continued. We document everything she took, everything she tried to take, everything she signed. I can do that, he said. And Lawson. He looked at me. This doesn't stop at money. His expression shifted. I know. She was planning to declare me mentally unfit, I said. That's not just financial, that's legal control. His face went pale again. Jesus. So we get ahead of it, I said. Medical evaluations, independent, clean, documented. He nodded faster now. I'll set it up. And Milo stays with you, I added. No unsupervised contact, not until this is finished. His jaw tightened again. She's his mother. And she used him as leverage, I replied calmly. That shut him up, because he knew it was true. I won't let her near him, he said finally. Good. Because that was the line. The one she crossed that she couldn't come back from. We stood there for a while going over details. Lawyers. Banks. Documents. Timelines. It felt less like a conversation and more like building a defense. Or maybe an offense. Around midnight, Lawson finally went upstairs. I stayed. Alone in the kitchen. Looking at the same counter where she thought she had already won. I reached into my jacket and pulled out my phone. Opened the folder. 7 weeks. Photos. Receipts. Recordings. Every lie she told, preserved. Every move she made, tracked. I scrolled slowly. Kalamazoo. Room 402. The tablet receipt. The forged signatures. Then the audio files. I tapped one. Her voice filled the silence. I just need a few more weeks. Once he's declared unfit, everything transfers clean. Lawson won't question it if I frame it right. I stopped it. Didn't need to hear the rest. I already had enough. More than enough. I locked the phone and slipped it back into my pocket. Then I looked around the house again. And for the first time since all of this started, it felt like mine again. But not safe. Not yet. Because she was still out there. And people like her don't just disappear quietly. They come back smarter, angrier, more desperate, and desperation. That's when they make mistakes. The next morning came faster than I expected. I woke up on the couch, my neck stiff, the early light cutting through the windows. For a second, everything felt normal. Then it all came rushing back. The envelope, the truth, the collapse. Footsteps on the stairs pulled me out of it. Lawson. Already dressed. Already moving. Lawyer's appointment at 10, he said. Bank at noon. I nodded. Good. He hesitated. Then. She texted me. Of course she did. What did she say? He pulled out his phone, reading it again like it might change. She wants to talk, he said. Says we can't fix this. Says you're manipulating me. I almost smiled. Predictable. What did you say? I asked. He looked at me. Then locked his phone. Nothing. Good answer. But not enough. Block her, I said. He hesitated. She's still. Block her, I repeated. This time firmer. After a second, he did it. Right there. And just like that, another piece of her control disappeared. But something in my gut twisted. Not relief. Not yet. Because silence from someone like Leanne is never empty. It's preparation. And I had a feeling. She wasn't done making her move. I was right. The silence didn't last long. It never does with people like her. By noon, just as Lawson and I were walking out of the bank, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't even need to guess. I answered anyway. Daniel, her voice came through, smooth, controlled, like none of yesterday had happened. We need to talk. I didn't respond right away. I let that silence sit there. Uncomfortable. Heavy. Because people like her hate silence. They need control of the conversation. Funny, I said finally. I thought we already did. A pause. Then a soft exhale. You've made your point, she said. But you're escalating something that doesn't need to be destroyed. Destroyed. That word. Like she hadn't already tried to erase me completely. You forged signatures, Leanne, I said calmly. You tried to have me declared unfit. That's not how it was. That's exactly how it was. My voice didn't rise, but something in it shifted. Even she felt it. Her tone changed slightly. More careful now. Lawson is overwhelmed, she said. You're feeding into that. If you keep pushing, you'll lose him again. There it was. The manipulation. Not denial. Redirection. You already lost him, I replied. Another pause. Longer this time. Then. No, she said quietly. You don't understand him like I do. I almost laughed. I raised him, I said. You studied him. That hit. I could hear it in the way her breathing changed. She's still trying to flip this, Lawson muttered beside me. I held up a hand to quiet him. Let me make this simple, I said into the phone. You walk away, quietly, like we discussed. And if I don't, she asked. There it was. The real question. Not fear. Not regret. A challenge. I leaned slightly against the car. Then everything I have goes to the police, I said. Every document, every recording, every transaction. Silence. Not fake this time. Real. Calculating. You think that won't hurt Lawson too, she said after a moment. I closed my eyes briefly. Of course she'd go there. You already hurt him, I replied. This just makes it honest. Another pause. Then her voice dropped. Colder. Sharper. You're underestimating me. And there it was. The truth she couldn't hide. I don't underestimate you, I said quietly. That's why I prepared. Before she could respond. I hung up. Lawson stared at me. What did she say? She's not done, I replied. His jaw tightened. Neither are we. We got in the car. But this time, there was no illusion left. No hesitation. No confusion. This wasn't about fixing something broken anymore. This was about finishing something dangerous. The next 3 days moved fast. Faster than I expected. Lawson handled the legal side like a man, trying to make up for lost time. Lawyers. Affidavits. Account freezes. Everything moved into place. And me. I watched. I tracked. I waited. Because I knew she was going to make a move. And when she did, it had to be the last one. On the 4th night it happened. I woke up to a sound. Soft. But wrong. Not the house settling. Not pipes. Something else. Movement. My eyes opened slowly. The living room was dark. But I could feel it. That instinct. Someone was inside. I didn't move right away. Didn't make a sound. I just listened. A faint creak. Near the back door. Then. A shadow. Crossing the hallway. I sat up slowly. Careful. Controlled. My heart wasn't racing. That surprised me. It was steady. Focused. Because deep down, I already knew who it was. I stood up and stepped into the hallway. Leanne, I said calmly into the darkness. The movement stopped instantly. Silence. Then. You shouldn't be here, I added. A light flicked on. And there she was. Standing in the kitchen. Not composed anymore. Not polished. Her hair slightly messy. Her face tense. Eyes sharp. Desperate. I needed to get my things, she said quickly. At 2 in the morning. I asked. She didn't answer that. Of course she didn't. Because that wasn't why she was here. You should have told Lawson, I continued. He blocked me, she snapped. There it was. Cracks turning into fractures. So you broke in? I asked. I didn't break anything, she said defensively. I still have a key. Not anymore. Her expression flickered. Just for a second. But I saw it. You changed the locks, she asked. This afternoon. That wasn't entirely true. But she didn't know that. Her eyes darted briefly toward the hallway. Calculating. Looking. Planning. What are you really here for, Leanne? I asked quietly. She hesitated. And that hesitation told me everything. Just my things, she repeated. I took a step closer. Then why are you in the office? Her face went still. Completely still. Got you. That's where the safe is, I said. Silence. Heavy. Exposed. You think I don't know what you're after? I continued. Her jaw tightened. You already took enough, I said. This ends tonight. For a moment. She looked like she might break. Like she might finally admit it. Finally collapse. But then, something changed. Her expression hardened. Shifted. Into something colder than before. You really think you've won, she said quietly. I didn't respond. Because I wanted to hear this. All of it. You exposed some transactions, she continued. You scared Lawson, that's all this is. That's not all, I said. Her lips curved slightly. Not a smile. Something else. You're forgetting something, she said. My eyes narrowed. What? She tilted her head slightly. And for the first time since this all started, I felt it. A flicker. Not fear. But concern. Because her confidence was back. Out of nowhere. You built your case on what you could see, she said. What you could track. I stayed silent. Let her talk. But you never asked the right question, she added. And what's that? I asked. Her eyes locked onto mine. Cold. Precise. What else I planned? Silence filled the space between us. Thick. Uncomfortable. Because suddenly, this didn't feel like a desperate woman breaking in. This felt like something else. Something calculated. Something unfinished. What did you do? I asked quietly. Her smile came back. Slow. Controlled. You'll find out, she said. And then, she moved. Fast. Not toward me. Toward the hallway. Toward the stairs. Toward Milo's room. My chest tightened instantly. Leanne. But she was already running. And in that moment, everything changed again. Because this wasn't about money anymore. This wasn't about control. This was something worse. And I realized I hadn't just been building a case. I'd been walking straight into the next part of her plan. Leanne, stop. My voice echoed through the hallway, sharp enough to cut through the silence, but she didn't slow down. She was already halfway up the stairs. Fast. Too fast. Not someone grabbing belongings. Someone chasing a plan. I moved immediately, my body reacting before my mind could catch up. My knees protested, my breath tightened, but none of it mattered. Because at the top of those stairs was Milo. Lawson. I shouted as I took the first step. No answer. His room door was still closed. He hadn't woken up yet. Damn it. Leanne reached the top landing and turned toward Milo's room without hesitation. Like she'd rehearsed it. Like she knew exactly where she was going. That hit me harder than anything. This wasn't panic. This wasn't desperation. This was intention. I pushed harder, gripping the railing as I climbed faster than I had in years. Leanne, don't do this. I shouted. She didn't even look back. Her hand hit Milo's door, and she threw it open. Milo, she said, breathless but controlled. Come here, sweetheart. I reached the top just seconds later. Step away from him. My voice came out lower now, colder, not loud, but final. Milo sat up in bed, confused, rubbing his eyes. Mom. Leanne moved toward him, softer now, her tone shifting instantly. It's okay, baby, she said gently. We're just going to go for a little ride. No, we weren't. I stepped into the doorway, blocking it. You're not taking him anywhere. Her eyes snapped to mine. Sharp. Dangerous. You don't get to decide that, she said. I do tonight. Silence. Heavy. Milo looked between us, confusion turning into fear. Dad, he called out. That did it. A door down the hall burst open. Lawson stumbled out, half awake, disoriented. What's going on? His eyes landed on Leanne, then on me, then on Milo, and everything clicked. Leanne, his voice tightened. She didn't look at him. Not yet. She was still focused on me. This doesn't involve you, she said quietly. I almost laughed. It involves everything, I replied. Lawson moved closer now, fully awake. Why are you here? He demanded. What are you doing in his room? Finally, she looked at him. And just like that, her entire demeanor changed. Softer. Hurt. Controlled. I came to take my son, she said. There it was. The angle. The narrative. Lawson froze. That's not what this is, he said slowly. Isn't it? She shot back. You blocked me. You shut me out. You think I'm just going to disappear from his life. You broke into the house, he snapped. I have a key. You had a key. Their voices started rising, clashing. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was watching her stance, her breathing, her hands. And then I saw it. Her bag, half open, sitting near the door, too close, too ready. This wasn't a visit. It was an exit plan. Lawson, I said quietly. He didn't hear me. Lawson. This time he turned. What? I nodded toward the bag. His eyes followed. And everything changed again. He saw it. Really saw it. Leanne, his voice dropped. What's in the bag? She didn't answer. That was answer enough. He stepped toward it. She moved instantly, blocking him. Don't, she said sharply. That sharpness. It broke the illusion. Completely. You were taking him, Lawson said, his voice hollow now. She didn't deny it. Didn't soften it. Didn't spin it. Because she couldn't anymore. Milo's voice trembled from the bed. Mom, where are we going? That question. It shattered something. Even in her. For a split second, her face cracked. But then, it hardened again. We're leaving, she said. No, Lawson said immediately. You're not. She laughed. A short, bitter sound. You think you can stop me? Yes. His voice didn't shake this time. Not even a little. I can. Silence. Tension. The kind that feels like it could snap at any second. Move, she said to me. I didn't. Move, she repeated, stepping closer. Still calm. Still controlled. But underneath it, desperation. I'm not moving, I said. Her eyes flickered. Calculating. Always calculating. Then, she changed tactics. Again. Lawson, she said, softer now. Think about what you're doing. You're letting him turn you against me. There it was. The last card. The one she always used. But this time, it didn't land. Lawson shook his head slowly. No, he said. I'm finally seeing you clearly. That hit. Harder than anything else. Because this time, she felt it. Real loss. Not control slipping. But gone. You're making a mistake, she said quietly. No, he replied. I already made one. I married you. Silence. Complete. Absolute. Milo started crying softly behind us. And that sound. It broke whatever was left of the moment. Get out, Lawson said. No anger. No yelling. Just final. She looked at him. Really looked at him. like she was trying to find something left to hold onto. But there was nothing. "Get out," he repeated. Her eyes shifted to me. Cold again. Hateful now. "You think this is over," she said. I didn't respond. Because I knew better. But I also knew something she didn't. This time. She had nothing left. "No," I said quietly. "I think this is exactly where it ends." For a long second. No one moved. Then. She grabbed her bag. Hard. Turned. And walked past us. Fast. Not running. Not rushing. But leaving. The sound of her footsteps down the stairs echoed through the house. Then the door. Opening. Closing. And just like that. She was gone. For real this time. The silence that followed felt different. Not tense. Not waiting. Just. Still. Lawson sank against the wall, running both hands over his face. Milo was still crying. I turned immediately, moving to him, pulling him gently into my arms. "It's okay," I said softly. "You're okay." He clung to me tightly. "Where was she taking me?" he asked, his voice small, scared. I held him closer. "Nowhere," I said. "You're staying right here." Behind me, Lawson's voice came out broken. "I almost let this happen." I looked over my shoulder. "No," I said. "You stopped it." He shook his head. "Because of you." I didn't answer that. Because this wasn't about credit. It was about what came next. And for the first time since this started, I believed it. This wasn't her game anymore. This was ours. And she had just made her final move and lost. The house didn't feel haunted anymore after she left. It felt emptied. Like something toxic had finally been dragged out. But the damage it left behind was still settling into the walls. Milo eventually stopped crying, but he didn't let go of me for a long time. His small hands stayed locked around my shirt like if he loosened his grip, everything would fall apart again. I didn't rush him. Didn't say too much. Some things don't need words. Lawson stood there for a while, just staring at the doorway like he expected her to walk back in and rewind everything. "She was going to take him," he said finally. Not a question. A realization. "Yes," I replied. His jaw tightened, and I didn't see it coming. I looked at him. "You did," I said quietly. "You just didn't want to believe it." That one landed. He nodded slowly, like he was accepting something he couldn't undo. "I need to fix this," he said. "You will," I answered. "But not tonight." Because tonight wasn't about strategy. It was about survival. We got Milo settled back into bed, though he insisted I stay in the room. So I did. I sat beside him until his breathing slowed again, until his grip loosened, until sleep finally pulled him under. Even then, I didn't leave immediately. I just sat there, listening, making sure the silence stayed real. When I finally stepped out, Lawson was downstairs, sitting at the kitchen table, the same place everything had unraveled. He looked up as I approached. "I called the lawyer," he said. "Left a message. Emergency." I nodded. "Good. I'm filing for custody," he added. That made me pause. "You sure?" I asked. His eyes didn't waver. I've never been more sure about anything. There was no hesitation in him now. No confusion. Just clarity. And pain. A lot of pain. "She crossed a line tonight," he continued. "There's no coming back from that." "No," I agreed. "There isn't." He leaned forward, elbows on the table, staring down at his hands. "I keep replaying everything," he said. "Every conversation, every time she told me you were slipping, every time she made me question you." His voice tightened. I believed her. I didn't interrupt, because he needed to say it. "I chose her over you," he went on. "Over my own fault." Silence filled the space again. Heavy. But this time, it wasn't suffocating. It was honest. "I can't change that," he said. "No," I replied. "You can't." He nodded. "But I can make sure it never happens again." I held his gaze. That mattered, more than anything else. Then start there, I said. Morning came slow. None of us really slept. But something had shifted. Not just in the house, in us. The lawyer called back first thing. Within hours, things started moving fast. Faster than before. Emergency custody filing. Police report for unlawful entry. Documentation of attempted abduction. Everything we had, everything I'd spent weeks gathering, suddenly had a place to go. A purpose. By afternoon, an officer was standing in the same kitchen where she once tried to control everything. Taking notes. Asking questions. Listening. Actually listening. Lawson answered most of them. I filled in the gaps. And when it came to the recordings, I handed them over. Every file. Every piece. No hesitation. Because this wasn't about leverage anymore. This was about protection. By evening, the house felt different again. Not just empty. Secure. For the first time in a long time. Milo played in the living room, quieter than usual but calmer. Every now and then, he'd glance toward the door like he was checking something, making sure that she wasn't coming back. Lawson sat across from me, a folder in his hands. Custody papers. I should have done this sooner, he said. Maybe, I replied. But you're doing it now. He exhaled slowly. I keep thinking, what if you didn't figure this out? I didn't answer right away, because I'd thought about that too, more than once. She would have taken everything, I said finally. Piece by piece. He nodded. And I would have helped her do it. That truth. It hurt him more than anything else. But it was necessary. Because you can't rebuild something if you're still lying about how it broke. A few days later, the first real sign came. A call. Not from her. From her lawyer. Threats. Claims. Attempts to flip the narrative. It didn't work. Not this time. Because now, we had everything. Proof. Timeline. Intent. And most importantly, we were no longer divided. Weeks passed. The court moved. Slowly. But steadily. Supervised visitation was requested. Denied. Temporary custody granted to Lawson. An investigation opened into her financial activity. Each step, another piece falling into place. And through all of it, she stayed quiet. Too quiet. But this time, it didn't feel like preparation. It felt like retreat. Like someone realizing the game was over. One evening, about a month later, I was sitting on the back porch. The same place I used to sit years ago, watching Lawson play in the yard. Now it was Milo out there. Running. Laughing. Free. Lawson stepped outside, holding 2 cups of coffee. He handed me one. We sat in silence for a bit. Watching. That laugh, he said quietly. I didn't hear it for a long time. I nodded. Neither did I. He took a sip. Do you think she'll come back? He asked. I thought about it. Really thought about it. Then I shook my head slowly. No, I said. Not like before. He looked at me. What does that mean? It means if she does, I replied, it won't be from a place of control. He exhaled, like a weight finally settling. I don't miss her, he admitted. That's okay, I said. I miss who I thought she was, he added. I glanced at him. That's harder. He nodded. We sat there a while longer. No tension. No fear. Just quiet. Real quiet. And as Milo ran across that yard, laughing without looking over his shoulder, I realized something. This wasn't about winning. Not really. It was about taking back what should have never been put at risk in the first place. Family. Trust. Safety. And maybe we didn't fix everything. Maybe some things never fully heal. But we stopped the damage. We drew the line. And this time, we held it. I took a slow sip of my coffee, watching the sun dip lower. And for the first time in a long time, there were no more moves left to play. Just a life to live. And finally, It was ours again. I thought that was the end. I really did. For a while, life started to feel normal again. Not perfect, but steady. Milo went back to laughing without hesitation. The kind of laugh that fills a room and makes you forget everything else. Lawson settled into a routine, handling work, legal updates, and spending more time with his son than I'd seen in years. And me. I stayed. Not because I had nowhere else to go, but because for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I needed to be. Weeks turned into 2 months, then 3. The court case moved forward. Her financial investigation got deeper. More accounts surfaced, more transactions, more lies, each one tightening the net around her. And still, she didn't reach out, didn't show up, didn't fight the way I expected her to. It should have felt like relief, but it didn't, because something about it felt off. Leanne wasn't the type to disappear quietly, not after losing everything, not after being exposed like that. People like her don't just walk away. They wait. They rebuild. They look for another angle. And that feeling, it stayed with me, like a shadow that didn't quite go away. Then one afternoon, it happened. I was in the garage, going through old boxes, trying to clear out things that hadn't been touched in years. Old tools, photo albums, things that belonged to another version of this house, of this life. That's when I found it. A folder. Thin. Plain. Tucked behind a stack of old documents. I almost ignored it. Almost. But something about it made me stop. I picked it up slowly. No label. No markings. Just there. Hidden. I opened it. And everything inside me went cold. Because it wasn't mine. It wasn't old. It wasn't forgotten. It was recent. Very recent. Inside. Photos. Printed. Clear. Detailed. Of me. Of Lawson. Of Milo. Different days. Different times. From a distance. Some from across the street. Some from inside a parked car. One from the park. Milo on the swings. Me pushing him. Lawson standing nearby. My grip tightened around the folder. This wasn't random. This wasn't curiosity. This was surveillance. Careful. Intentional. Planned. And then I saw the notes. Handwritten. Small. Precise. Routine consistent. School drop-off 8:10 a.m. Evening outdoor time variable. Old man usually present. Old man. I didn't feel insulted. I felt something else. Anger. Cold, controlled anger. Because this wasn't about money anymore. This wasn't about assets. This was about us. About Milo. I flipped to the last page. And that's when it hit me. A date. Circled. Tomorrow. And underneath it, one opportunity. My chest tightened. Not fear. Focus. Sharp. Immediate. I didn't waste a second. I grabbed my phone and called Lawson. Come home, I said the second he picked up. What, why, I'm at. Now, I cut him off. No questions. Something in my voice must have landed. Because he didn't argue. I'm coming. I hung up. Then I looked back at the photos. At the notes. At the pattern. She hadn't disappeared. She'd been watching. Waiting. Planning. And tomorrow was supposed to be her move. Not impulsive. Not desperate. Calculated. That made her dangerous again. But this time, I had the advantage. Because now, I knew. Lawson got home in under 20 minutes. He walked into the garage, already tense. What's going on? I handed him the folder. Didn't say a word. I watched his face as he went through it. Confusion. Then recognition. Then pure shock. What the hell is this? He whispered. She's been watching us, I said. His eyes snapped to mine. No. Yes. He flipped through the pages faster now. His breathing changing. This is insane. No, I said quietly. It's planned. He reached the last page. Saw the date. Tomorrow. His face went pale. What does one opportunity mean? He asked. I held his gaze. It means she's not done. Silence. Heavy. Different this time. Not confusion. Not regret. Something sharper. Protective. What do we do? He asked. Good question. Because this time, we didn't just react. We prepared. We control the environment, I said. We don't change the routine too much. If she's watching, we let her think everything is normal. His jaw tightened. And Milo? He's not alone for a second, I replied. He nodded immediately. I'll take the day off. Good. And the police? I paused, then nodded. Yes. Because this had crossed into something else now. Something that needed to be handled properly. That night, none of us slept. Not really. Every sound felt louder. Every shadow felt longer. But I wasn't nervous. I was ready. Because for the first time since this started, she didn't have the element of surprise. Morning came. Quiet. Too quiet. Milo got ready for school like usual. Backpack. Shoes. Breakfast. He didn't know anything. And that's exactly how it needed to stay. Lawson stayed close. Closer than usual. I stayed even closer. Watching. Listening. Waiting. 8:05 a.m. We stepped outside. Right on time. Just like the note said. Routine consistent. I scanned the street casually. Nothing obvious. No movement. No parked cars out of place. But that didn't mean anything. People like her didn't make obvious mistakes. We walked Milo to the car. He climbed in, still talking about something from school. Normal. Everything looked normal. Too normal. I closed the door. Lawson moved to the driver's side. And that's when I saw it. Across the street. A car. Dark. Engine running. Windows slightly tinted. It hadn't been there yesterday. My eyes narrowed. And then, movement inside. Just slight. But enough. I stepped forward. Slow. Careful. And as I did, the window rolled down. Just a little. And there she was. Leanne. Watching. Not panicked. Not rushed. Calm. Calculated. Her eyes met mine. And for a second, everything went still. No words. No movement. Just that look. That same look from the night, she said. You'll find out. My hand clenched slightly. But I didn't move closer. Didn't react. Because this was the moment. The one she planned. The one she waited for. And this time, I was ready for her. Completely. She smiled. Not wide. Not obvious. Just enough to let me know she thought she was still in control. That was her mistake. I didn't move toward her. I didn't signal Lawson. I didn't react at all. Because that's exactly what she was watching for. Instead, I stepped back from the car like everything was normal. Like I hadn't seen her. Like this was just another morning. But inside, everything was locked in. Lawson got in the driver's seat. I leaned down slightly. Take him, I said quietly. Stick to the route, don't stop. His eyes flicked to mine. He understood instantly. No questions. No hesitation. Okay. The car pulled away. Milo waved from the backseat. Bye, Grandpa. I forced a small smile. See you later, kiddo. And just like that, they were gone. Now it was just me and her. The street fell quiet again. Too quiet. I turned slowly, looked straight at the car, and this time, I walked toward it, step by step, calm, measured, no fear. Because this time, she wasn't hunting. She was exposed. Her window rolled down a little more as I approached. Good morning, Daniel, she said softly. Like this was casual. Like this wasn't weeks of manipulation, theft, and attempted abduction. Leanne, I replied. I stopped a few feet from the car. Not too close. Not too far. You've been busy, I added. Her lips curved slightly. I could say the same about you. Silence. Then. You shouldn't have involved the police, she said. There it was. Confirmation. I tilted my head slightly. You shouldn't have given me a reason. Her fingers tapped lightly on the steering wheel. Controlled. But I could see it. The tension. You think this ends today? She asked. I held her gaze. I know it does. And right on cue. A second car turned the corner. Then another. Unmarked. But obvious if you knew what to look for. Her eyes flickered. Just for a second. There it is. You planned this, she said quietly. No, I replied. You did. The first car slowed. Then stopped. Doors opened. Plainclothes officers stepped out. Calm. Focused. No rush. No chaos. Because this wasn't a chase. This was a trap. And it had already closed. Leanne's grip tightened on the wheel. Her eyes moved quickly now. Calculating. Looking for exits. There weren't any. You've been watching us for weeks, I said calmly. You left notes, you marked a day, an opportunity. She didn't respond. Because she couldn't deny it. Stalking, I continued. Attempted abduction, fraud, forgery. Each word landed heavier than the last. The officers were closer now. One of them spoke. Ma'am, step out of the vehicle. Her breathing changed. Faster now. But her face, still trying to hold that control. That illusion. You think this proves anything, she said, looking at me. You think this makes you right. I stepped closer. Just slightly. No, I said quietly. This just makes it over. The officer repeated, firmer this time. Step out of the vehicle, now. A long second passed. Then. Her shoulders dropped. Just a fraction. The first real sign of defeat. She opened the door. Slowly. Stepped out. Hands visible. Controlled. Even now. But it was gone. That power she held for so long. Gone. As they moved in, placing her in cuffs, she looked at me one last time. Not angry. Not even shocked. Just empty. You could have walked away, I said. She held my gaze. So could you. Then they led her away. Just like that. No drama. No last scene. No control. The car door shut. The engine went silent. And for the first time since all of this began, there was nothing left. No hidden move. No backup plan. No shadow waiting to strike. Just silence. Real silence. Lawson called me 20 minutes later. They're safe, he said immediately. Milo's at school, everything okay. I looked down the empty street, at the space where her car had been. It is now, I said. He exhaled. Long. Heavy. Is it over? I took a breath. Slow. Deep. Yes. And this time, I meant it. Months later, the house didn't feel like a battleground anymore. It felt like a home again. The court case wrapped up cleaner than I expected. The evidence was overwhelming. She didn't fight it in the end. Couldn't. Fraud charges stuck. The stalking sealed it. And the attempted abduction attempt. That ended everything else. Lawson got full custody. No conditions. No arguments. Milo stayed right where he belonged. Safe. Laughing. Free. And me. I stayed too. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. One evening, I was sitting in the backyard again. Same chair. Same view. But everything felt different. Milo was running across the grass, laughing like nothing had ever touched him. Lawson stood near the fence, watching him. Not distracted. Not distant. Present. Really present. He walked over after a while and handed me a drink. We stood there in silence, watching. You saved us, he said quietly. I shook my head. No, I replied. We saved each other. He nodded slowly. I almost lost everything. I looked at him. But you didn't. That's what mattered. That's all that mattered. Milo ran toward us out of breath, smiling. Grandpa watched this. I leaned forward slightly. Let's see it, kid. He took off again, full speed, like the world had never tried to take anything from him. And maybe that was the real win. Not exposing her, not stopping her, but making sure. He never had to feel any of it. I leaned back in my chair, letting the quiet settle. No tension, no fear, no waiting. Just peace, real peace. And for the first time in a long time, there was nothing left to fight, only something worth protecting. And this time, we were ready. I thought it was finished. I told myself it was finished. The court ruled. The charges stuck. Custody was settled. The house was quiet again. Everything had an ending. But real endings, they don't feel like explosions. They feel like silence that finally stays. Still, there were things left to face. Not her. Not the courts. Us. Because damage doesn't disappear just because the danger is gone. It lingers. In habits. In reactions. In the way someone hesitates before trusting again. A week after everything officially closed, Lawson and I were in the garage again. Same place I found that folder. Same place everything shifted. He was going through boxes quietly, slower than usual. Not distracted. Just thinking. You ever think about Mom? He asked suddenly. That caught me off guard. Every day, I said. He nodded. I think she would have seen it, he added. What Leanne was doing. I leaned back slightly against the workbench. She would have felt it, I said. Your mother always trusted her instincts. He let out a small breath. I ignored mine. I didn't correct him this time. Because this wasn't about blame anymore. It was about understanding. That happens, I said. Especially when someone works hard to rewrite what you feel. He looked down at his hands. I don't want Milo growing up confused like that, he said. Second-guessing what's real. He won't, I replied. Lawson looked at me. You sound sure. I am. He waited. So I said it. Because now he has you paying attention. That hit him differently. In a good way. Not guilt. Responsibility. The right kind. We didn't say much after that. We didn't need to. Some conversations don't need more words. They just need to land. That evening, Milo came running in from outside, dirt on his knees, face flushed, holding something in his hand. Grandpa, look. I crouched slightly. What have you got there? A rock, he said proudly. I smiled. That's a pretty serious rock. It's for you, he added, handing it over. I took it carefully, like it mattered. Because to him, it did. Thank you, I said. He nodded, satisfied, and ran back out. Lawson watched him go, then looked at me. You know, he said, a few months ago I almost lost this. I held the rock in my hand, turned it slightly. Simple, ordinary, important. Yeah, I said quietly. He swallowed. I don't think I'll ever forgive myself for that. I looked at him. You don't have to forget it, I said. But don't live there. He frowned slightly. What does that mean? It means you learn from it, I said. You carry it differently, not as weight but as awareness. He nodded slowly. I'm trying. I know. And I meant that. Weeks turned into something steadier. Routine came back. But this time it wasn't blind. It was intentional. Dinner together. Evenings outside. Small things. The kind of things that build something real. One night, Milo asked something that stayed with me. We were sitting in the living room, a movie playing quietly in the background. He looked up at me and said, Grandpa, why did Mom leave? The room went still. Lawson froze slightly in his chair. I felt it. That moment. The one you can't avoid. The one you have to answer carefully. Honestly, I looked at Milo. He wasn't scared, just curious, trying to understand his world. I chose my words slowly. Sometimes people make choices that aren't good for others, I said. And when that happens, they have to go somewhere else until things are safe again. He thought about that, then nodded. Is she coming back? I glanced at Lawson, then back at Milo. No, I said gently. Not like before. He seemed to accept that. Kids do that sometimes. They process things in ways adults can't. Okay, he said. Then he leaned against me like it was enough. And maybe. It was. Later that night, after Milo went to bed, Lawson sat across from me again. You handled that better than I would've, he said. You would have done fine, I replied. He shook his head slightly. I'm still learning. I smiled faintly. So am I. Because that's the truth. No matter how old you get, no matter how much you've seen, you're still learning how to hold things together. Just hopefully better than before. Time kept moving, and something else happened quietly, without announcement, without effort. Trust came back, not all at once, not perfectly, but piece by piece, in conversations, in silence, in the absence of fear. One afternoon, I was back on the porch again, same chair, same view. Milo was drawing on the concrete with chalk. Lawson was on a call nearby, but every few seconds, his eyes drifted back to his son. Always checking, always present. I looked down at the rock Milo gave me, still sitting on the small table beside me, still exactly where I left it. And I realized something. For weeks, I thought I was fighting to prove something, to expose her, to stop her. But that wasn't really it. I was fighting to protect something simple, something easy to lose, and hard to rebuild. This, right here. A quiet afternoon, a safe home, a child who doesn't look over his shoulder, a son who finally sees clearly. That's what all of it was for. Lawson ended his call and walked over. Everything good? He asked. I nodded. Yeah, I said. He followed my gaze to Milo, then smiled slightly. Feels different, doesn't it? I took a slow breath, let it out. Yeah, I said. It does. And for a moment, we just stood there. No past, no tension, no shadow waiting. Just now, just this. And that's when I knew. Not hoped, not assumed, knew. It was finished. Not because she was gone, not because the case was closed, but because she no longer had any place in our lives. No influence, no control, no space. And without that, there was nothing left of her story to tell, only ours. And this time, we were the ones writing it.